In this next video, we're going to show you how to add your leases. To do so, first go to Leases in the menu. This page is going to show you all of your active leases, and you can filter them down by inactive and all. To add your first lease, simply click on Add New Lease. It will then ask you which property. In this case, we've only added one property. However, if you have multiple, you'll see them in the drop-down menu. Next, we're going to select which unit it applies to. If you have multiple units, you'll see them here. If you have only one unit, it'll just be the one defaulted to. Next, we're going to go through the information to provide for the lease. First is the move-in date. This is simply when the tenant is planning to move into the lease. We will pick this date to start with. Rental term in months is simply the total number of months of the term of the lease. At the end of the lease, you have the option to require a renewal agreement or to switch to converting to month. This simply changes how the system invoices. Renewal agreement required means that invoicing will be stopped and the lease will be terminated. Converts to month will continue with monthly invoicing. We'll leave it at renewal agreement required for now. Monthly rent will be the default monthly rent for that unit, and you can edit it here. Deposit required is simply the security deposit that you require from the tenant. Rent due date is the day of the month that rent is due, and the invoice will be marked as such. The rent late fee amount is simply the dollar amount that's added to the invoice if the rent invoice is not paid after a certain number of days, which is assigned here. Next, if you want the due date for the rent to be set to the 1st and the tenant is moving in at an earlier date, you can simply select prorate rent between move-in date and make due date on the 1st. Selecting this will automatically change the rent due date to the 1st and will create an invoice for that specific amount based on the number of days. You can always take this off. Once complete, you can simply select Recalculate, and this is going to generate a preview of the invoice that's going to be created. This will be a one-time invoice that's created, which includes the deposit and the monthly rent and the total amount due. Subsequent invoices will have only the monthly rent and will not include the deposit. If you're all satisfied, you can click Continue to Tenants. Next, we will add the tenants. Simply fill out the information here. We'll say Jack Black, a phone number, email address, the credit score, when the date was pulled, and you have the option to send an invitation email to the tenant. This will send them their login credentials for the tenant portal. You can change that here. And then select Add Tenant. You can add multiple tenants to each lease. Once you're done, you can simply select Continue. Now you'll have a chance to review the final invoice before sending it to the tenant. If the tenant wants to pay it on hand, or you have the amount to pay on hand, you can simply select Pay Now, or you can email it to the tenant. We'll go to the agreement document. In this view, you can upload existing lease agreements that you have in place, or any other files that you want to upload. You can also select Generate Agreement, which generates a template lease agreement for you to use. Once you select that, you'll see that here, which you can download and view and get the tenant to sign. Next, you click View Lease. So that is how you add your first lease. In subsequent videos, we'll show you how to view and manage your leases.